Each of the three tribunes of the temple were represented in the dawn of Chimeric culture by their anticipations. These anticipations are known to the West as the sinister Daedra Lords Azura, Boethia, and Mephala. In temple theology, however, Azura is the anticipation of Sothosil, the Mage Lord of Almsevi. Boethia is the anticipation of Almalexia, Almsevi's mother and lady. Mephala is the anticipation of Vivec. According to legend, under the guidance of these three Daedra Lords, a discontented throng of Ultima transformed themselves into a new people and founded a new land. And while Boethia, the so-called Prince of Plots, provided the revolutionary method needed to bring about this transformation, Mephala was the shadowy implementer of those methods. As known in the West, Mephala is the demon of murder, sex, and secrets. All of these themes contain subtle aspects and violent ones: assassination and genocide, courtship and orgy, tact, and poetic truths. Mephala is understood paradoxically to contain and integrate these contradictory themes. And all these subtle undercurrents and contradictions are present in the Dunmer concepts of Vivec, even if they are not explicitly described and explained in temple doctrine. The Dunmer do not envision Lord Vivec as a creature of murder, sex, and secrets. Rather, they conceive of Lord Vivec as benevolent king, guardian warrior, poet, artist. But at the same time, unconsciously, they accept the notion of darker, hidden currents beneath Vivec's benevolent aspects. For example, one of the most striking, persistent myths associated with Vivec is the story that Vivec conspired with his co-rulers Almalexia and Sothosil in the murder of Lord Nerevar, the greatest of Dunmer heroes and generals. The story is derived from Ashlander oral tradition, and is flatly contradicted by all temple traditions. Nonetheless, the tale is firmly established in the Dunmer imagination, as if to say, of course Vivec would never have conspired to murder Lord Nerevar, but it happened so long ago, who can know the truth? The public face of Vivec is benign, sensitive, compassionate, and protective of his followers. At the same time, the Dunmer seem irrationally comfortable with the hidden aspects of Vivec, the darker components of violence, lust, and conspiracy associated with the more primitive and ruthless impulses of the anticipations. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Trials of Samuel. We are on episode number 8 of our playthrough. Today we're going to be... I haven't really planned out too much today. I think we'll probably just go through the main quest and see how far we get. We have nothing in our quest log about the House Redarin quests or the Tribunal quests. For the first time in our entire playthrough, we have no Redarin or Tribunal quests active. We do still have a few of the blessings on from our previous episode. So we've got this feather spell, 100 points, swift swim, water breathing, levitate, and also the shield, 25 points. I'm kind of surprised that I can't actually see the shield. I'm not sure if there's like a certain amount of shield that you need to have the physical like purple shield around your character.
Happy to talk. My pleasure, really.
And we're just going to get our orders from Caius here. So the Caius, basically what he initially said for us is for us to go out and join a faction or do some freelance adventuring, to build ourselves a cover story basically while we're in Morrowind and while we're kind of working for the Blades as an undercover informant. It's really good to have a cover story. So we've done all that. We're thoroughly established now in House Redarin, and we are we've also got some affiliation with the temple as well. So we have very much a cover story here. We're going to go to Vivec now, and we're going to go get some informants. So Adhiran here, Julia, and Miramilo, so a Khajiit, an Igonian, and a temple priestess, who I assume is a Dunmer from memory. And we just need to basically have a chat to them about what they know regarding the current events in Morrowind. I have a feeling my mark spell isn't properly set up. So what I'm going to do, what I should have done before, is set up my mark somewhere a bit more useful. I could set it up there, but I actually think what I'll do, I'm gonna pop it right by the Mages Guild, but I'm gonna put it outside. So we'll just put it here. There we go. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because then if we need to teleport anywhere, we can go to the Mage Guild, and we're only a short distance away from the Silt Strider as well if we need to go to the Silt Strider.
Where would you like
And we also have access to our alchemy ingredients that are in that manor.
Why walk when you can ride?
On the dead guy's body. I forgot his name already. Relan Hualo, maybe? Sounds right. Where did my magicka go? Did I have a fortified magicka? I must have had a fortified magicka spell. It's kind of annoying. But luckily our levitation spell only costs 1 magicka. Okay, cool. We should have a look at these mission orders. So, look for these 3 persons and get them to tell you what they know about the Nerevarine and the 6th House cults. Each owes me a favor, and each should be willing to cooperate. So Adirania is a Khajiit and a Thieves Guild operative in the St. Olm's Canton. And as I mentioned in the last episode, I do have a relatively good idea about which canton's which now. It should be useful. Look for him in the foreign quarter at the Black Shark Corner Club. Right. Okay. Yes. I remember this one. I'm pretty sure we have to fight our way out. Okay. That should be fine. Should be. We're on the lower waste works, but that's okay, I think. It's Apothecary, Alchemist, Bash's Rare Books. We will be going back there, but not right now. And I believe it's just through here. Black Shark Corner Club. Here we go. Okay.
Sarah.
Get out of our way, Inwa. We got issues with this filthy lizard here. He's kind not welcome here. He belongs in the swamp with the rest. Oh, good.
You may speak.
Shut up and butt out, Outlander. It's the filthy lizard we're talking to, not here. This rotting piece of trash ought to be chained up somewhere, not running around loose. So you kind of get a feel for how the Dunmer feel about other races. In particular, the beast races, right? Okay, let's see here. I think the moment I talk to him, it's going to be pretty quick.
What do you want?
I think what I'll try to do to remind myself how they're all 30 seconds, aren't they?
You may speak.
If I position myself here, I need him to not be in combat though. I don't know. I guess he can die, right? I presume he can die. So, all right. I'll cast these as well. Doesn't really matter too much for those two fighting a martial fight. And there's nothing else we can really cast here. Oh. What are you, some kind of filthy lizard lover? You want to give your little friend a big kiss? Amazing. But I wish to go to my friend's bookstore, and these troublesome fools are in the way. I have tried to persuade them, but they hate my race, and I fear that there will be violence. Perhaps if you speak with them, but be careful and be ready. My friend Jobasha the Khajiit has a bookstore. Jobasha's read books. If you will agree to travel together with me there, I will answer your question. Before we go, I beg you to try to persuade these troublesome fools to leave us alone. Otherwise, I fear they will attack us the moment we go to leave. The sight of a free Argonian offends these racist thugs. It would tarnish my Morak Tong honor to slay them, and I don't want to trouble my friend Saralis Golmus by fighting in his club. Huh. Who do I speak to?
Where is that slave? Speak, traveler. Go ahead.
Ah, okay, so I have to initiate the travel.
What is it, Mutsara?
These guys really don't like me. And I don't think I have... I've got no Talvani bug musk either. So I'm gonna have to do this. Well, I guess let's just try.
There is no escape.
Okay, there we go.
You
Well, fair enough. Throwing knives. Okay. Okay, let's leave.
submit to the three, the spirits and thy lords.
Where are you going? Argonians walk so weird in this game. Whoa. Yes, thank you very much. We should be free from distraction here. Now, I said I'd tell you about the Nerevarine Cult, so you can report back to Caius. And I don't know of any 6th House cult, but I can tell you what I do know. Cool. To understand the Nerevarine Cult, you must understand the history of the Ashlanders. Nerevar means something very different to the Ashlanders from what he means to Dunmer of the Great Houses. You should also know about the persecution of the Nerevarine, and the legacy of the False Incarnate, for the Nerevarine Cult is at the heart of ancient conflict between the nomadic Ashlanders and the settled Great House Dunmer. Here is a summary for Caius, but ask your questions and I'll answer in detail. Okay, so the Nerevarine Cult. Okay, I gave you a summary, so I'll read that. So the history of the Ashlanders. In the first era, the nomadic Ashlanders and the settled Dunmer clans were much alike, but after the First Council and the formation of the Great Houses, Ashlanders have been steadily forced into the poorest and most hostile lands. Now the nomadic tribes look to the prophesied return of Nerevar for a restoration of their ancient rights and religious traditions. Okay. The persecution of the Nerevarine. The Temple treats the Nerevarine prophecies as heresy, and the Temple imprisons and executes heretics unless prevented by imperial law. But since the Nerevarine cult is hostile to the Empire does not interfere when Temple persecutes the cult. Ashlanders hate the Temple, and particularly the Ordinators, for their ruthless treatment of Nerevarine cultists. Okay, and the False Incarnate. In the past, some have claimed to be the reincarnated Nerevar. The most recent is known as Peakstar, a figure of legend among the Waste tribes for the last 30 years. The Temple says these false incarnates disprove the prophecies, since the false incarnates fail and come to nothing. But the mystical Nerevarine cult glorifies rather than shrinks from contradictions, citing the appearance of failed incarnates as certain proof of Nerevar's coming rebirth. Very cool. Okay. Sweet. Let's have a read of the... No, this is good enough. Okay, the history of the Ashlanders and Nerevarine Cult. In first era barbaric Dunmer culture, settled Dunmer clans, the great houses and nomadic Dunmer tribes like the Ashlanders, were roughly equal in numbers and wealth. Under the civilized peace of the Grand Council, and with the strong central authority of the temple, the economic and military power of the settled Dunmer quickly outstripped that of the nomadic Dunmer. The nomadic Dunmer were marginalized into the poorest, most hostile land, in particular into the Vardenfell wastes. For the Ashlanders, the return of a reincarnated Nerevar represents a longed-for and largely romanticized golden age of Nerevar's peace, when the nomadic tribes enjoyed equality with the settled Dunmer, and before the Dunmer people had for the most part abandoned traditional ancestor worship for the autocratic theocracy of the Tribunal Temple. The Nerevar of the Ashlanders. This is the story of Nerevar as an Ashlander might tell it. In ancient days, the Deep Elves and a great host of outlanders from the west came to steal the land of the Dunmer. In that time, Nerevar was a great Khan and war leader of the House people, but he honored the ancient spirits in the tribal law and became as one of us. So when Nerevar pledged upon his great ring of the ancestors, one clan of the Moon and Star, to honor the ways of these spirits and rights of the land, all the tribes joined the House people to fight a great battle at Red Mountain. Yada 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 yada. I think we've read this exact section before somewhere else, because I'm pretty sure I remembered reading like that first paragraph word for word. Persecution of the Nerevarine Cult. The Tribunal Temple regards the mysticism and prophecy of the Nerevarine Cult as primitive superstition. The Ashlander ancestor cults, and the Nerevarines in particular, have always decried the worship of living Dunmer as abominations, suspecting the unnatural lifetimes of the Tribunal to be signs of profane sorcery or necromancy. Though the authoritarian and intolerant temple priesthood have always been inclined to tolerate Ashlander ancestor cult practices, they have always threatened Nerevarine claimants with death or imprisonment. And while generally intolerant of various cult worships, the Imperial Commission of the Occupation outlaws cults hostile to the Emperor and the Empire, threatens members of such cults with imprisonment or death. The Ordinators are allowed a free hand when dealing with outlawed cults like the Nerevarines. And then Peakstar. Most recent is Peakstar, a mysterious figure who has reportedly appeared and disappeared among the Waste tribes over the last 30 years. Temple notes that these false incarnates discredit the Nerevarine prophecies. Singularly and illogically, the Ashlanders acknowledge a history of false claimants, calling them failed incarnates. But they regard them as proof of the validity of the prophecies rather than contradiction. Hilarious. Among the Nerevarines, there is a fable of a cavern of the incarnates where the spirits of the failed incarnates dwell. The Nerevarine cult is a mystical cult, and it glorifies rather than shrinks from contradictions. It's interesting that the failed incarnates is kind of used as proof by the Ashlanders that actually it's all true, right? It just seems kind of weird. I mean, it seems illogical, right? But there's probably a really good reason for it. I just can't think of the right thing, but there's probably something in the oral traditions of the Ashlanders that Oh, I used the wrong thing. Oh my gosh. There we go. I guess that means my levitate wore off, huh? I have to use Restore Magicka here, I think. Don't have many. I wonder if... Oh, I could have gone to the Thieves Guild while I was there, but oh well. Okay. And we're gonna walk around, and then we'll head to St. Olm's. Speak to Adirenia, and then from there it's just Temple, which is next to St. Olm's. Now, I always get these two mixed up. I think this one here is St. Dellen, but I'm going to double check. I think that one's St. Olm's. Yeah, it's St. Dellen. I always forget that you can just look at the little map in the bottom right as you enter a new area. And it will tell you. Get my bound longsword wore off. Cool. Tailors and Dyers Hall. I've never been in there, I don't think. Could I drop down? Yes. So I know
Yes, Outlander. What
where Adirenia is.
Yes, Outlander. What do you
So what I'll do, instead of wasting my time by talking to people and trying to get get information from NPCs in this game, which can be challenging. If you remember us trying to find out where about the rumor of the murders in Vivek. It did take a little while. Alteration skill hit 50. Let's go. Yeah, okay, come here. Yeah. Does that look like a Khajiit? Yes, it does.
Khajiit
Ooh.
has no time for you.
Great. So Caius says to you, speak with Adirenia, and you have done this thing. You are speaking with Adirenia. But Adirenia will not talk to you about the Nerevarine or the 6th House cult. And because why? Because Adirenia is at this moment very distracted by a nice census and excise agent who also wants to speak with her. Oh, good. You do not know this. They are the collectors of the Emperor's taxes and tariffs, and the Emperor has outlawed trade in many things, like Dwemer artifacts and ebony, and a census and excise agent will enjoy being a pest about such things. For several reasons, a census and excise agent is not Adirenia's favorite person. If you want Adirenia to help you, make the bad agent go away. Then she will tell you things. So basically, the IRS are after Adirenia, and we have to go stop the IRS. Seems pretty easy, right? Okay, cool. So let's go do that first. Now, the census and excise agent. She doesn't tell me where he is. Okay. He's in the Wasteworks, but I can't remember if it's in the St. Olm's Wasteworks or not. I hope it is. There is the picture of Veloth leading the people to Resdane. We talked about that in the last episode at the very start. It's a wonderful story. Very, very cool.
praise Vivek? What do you think of
That
our
looks like a
city,
taxman.
Outlander?
I'm looking for a friend of mine, a female Khajiit named Adirenia. Do you know where I can find her? So we have three options here. We can say we don't know. We can feed him a lie in the hopes that it makes him look elsewhere. Or we can tell him the truth about where she is. We're going to lie because it's probably the correct thing to do. It tries to basically it frees Adirenia up to talk to us. What a disappointment, but thank you for your time. I was just heading back to the mainland myself anyway, and maybe I'll run into her there. There we go. So, pretty straightforward. Don't want to put that. Oh, we feed a little lie to the IRS. Which is probably a very bad thing to do.
What do you want?
Alright. So you are the one Adirenia must thank for getting rid of the annoying census and excise agent. Indeed, Adirenia is very glad to see you and very happy to tell a friend of my good friend Caius all about the 6th House cult. And Adirenia knows nothing about the Nerevarine, but Adirenia is happy to tell you that too, if it makes Caius happy. Ask away, friend Samuel. Okay. 6th House cult. This Adirenia knows about because it is about smuggling. Some smart smugglers are suddenly too busy for their old clients because they have a new employer, the 6th House, who pays very well. But what do they smuggle now? Adirenia doesn't know because they are very secret. And this is odd because these smugglers are always loud and bragging, but now they hush up like fat-bellied kitties full of sweetmeats. Yes, Adiradia knows this Nerevarine cult is just silly superstition. So you tell Caius this. Nobody in her right mind pays any attention to this moon yowling, prophecies and ancient heroes reborn and other silliness. Fuzzy tails for little kitties. Oh, I love that. Okay, cool. And, okay, so the 6th house are smuggling, but we don't know what. But we do know that they're paying very, very well. So, where's the money coming? Where's the money, Lebowski? And our last person is in the Temple District. So, let's head to the Temple District, which is directly south of us. And I went the terribly long way around again. That's okay. Do, 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 do. I've always really loved the design of the temple canton. It's just like 2 massive statues of Vivek. Oh, my legs! Well, huh. And my levitate skill didn't... My levitate spell didn't cast. I guess I fell
What do you think of our city, Outlander?
too early. Let's just have a quick look at the... So Adironi has no notes for us. She works in the libraries at the Hall of Wisdom and Justice. So we're looking for the library. And I have to remember what the library is. Oh, well, that'll do. First all we check. Yes, I'm Marimilo. Caius sent you. Follow me into the back of the library. We can't talk here. Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Please, go ahead, Outlander. I'm listening.
Go ahead. I'm afraid I don't know anything about a 6th house cult, but I can tell you about the Nerevarine Cult. Okay? The temple worships Nerevar as a saint and hero, but prophecies of his reincarnation are punished as wicked heresy. The Nerevarine Cult claims the tribunal are false gods, hence the temple's persecution of the Nerevarine Cult. A group called the Dissident Priests disputes temple doctrine on the Nerevarine prophecies. The prescribed book, Progress of Truth, describes their beliefs. Get a copy of Progress of Truth for Caius Cosades. That will tell him the things he needs to know about the Nerevarine Cult. So this is our first mention here about the Dissident Priests. Let's learn a little bit more about them. So the Dissident Priests dispute temple doctrine and are outlawed and persecuted by the temple. Ordinators arrest and imprison heretics, and the Empire cannot intervene. Progress of Truth lists their beliefs. In brief, they challenge the purity and divinity of the tribunal, suggesting their powers are sorcerous, not divine, and perhaps akin to the powers of Dagoth-Ur. They also condemn the arbitrary power of the Ordinators and accuse the temple hierarchy of self-interest and corruption. What is this Progress of Truth book? So this book lists the disputes of the dissident priests with tribunal temple doctrines. The temple has outlawed the sale or possession of the book, so it will be hard to find. We have a copy here, but I fear I'm being watched by Ordinators here. A safer plan would be to search local booksellers. Some booksellers ignore temple bans on outlawed books for profits or for principles. Nerevarine to the tribunal are false gods. I've never understood why the temple wastes so much energy on them. The faithful cannot be shaken by such attacks, and the Ashlanders are just ignorant savages. But since the submission of the temple to the Empire and the erosion of faith among the Dunmer, the militant wing of the temple is increasingly fierce in its attacks on heretics and heathens. So all these different factors that are going on in the background, like the armistice agreement, the ghost fence that we know is weakening the powers of the tribunal. All of this is kind of culminating in people becoming more and more fundamentalist, more and more militant about their beliefs in Vardenfell. It's just so awesome to see like how all these different like little things are all in play.
Yes.
And they're all kind of impacting everyone's ability to do things. They're impacting the way that people think and the way people believe. It's just awesome. I guess this...
What do you want of me, Outlander?
Oh, this way goes to the other side. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we need to go and find a book. A rare book. And
Please go ahead.
we're actually just in a bookstore before. So we'll head back to the foreign quarter. And we'll pop to Jobash's rare books where we dropped off Julia. And we'll see if we can get a copy of The Progress of Truth. And then that book is probably going to be an interesting read for us. Up we pop. Jobasha, Jobasha. Alright, which... pick a direction. See if it's right. That's the corner club, so it's not that way. It's like with a USB stick, you know, when you put it in your computer, the first time you're always wrong. That's like navigating in Vivek is like, first direction that you pick is always the incorrect one.
This is an honor.
You always have to backtrack. There's an ordinator.
May I help you,
Excuse me, sir.
citizen?
Excuse me, sir. You're very much in the way. What can Jobasha do for you? Julia? Julia is here. Okay. So Jobasha has rare books. A lot of them, actually. Boethia's Glory. Homilies of Blessed Emma Alexia. Engasta Kavakis. On Oblivion, Origin of the Mages Guild, and Progress of Truth right there. So that's all we want. There are a few other interesting books, but if you really want to read, lore about Morrowind, you can always find the entire book transcripts on UESP, and that's generally how I read mine. There's also like the Imperial Library, which you can read as well. And there are basically every book, I think,
Yes.
in the Elder Scrolls. It's all there. So that's great. So we've got our book. We've had a chat to the 3 informants, and you...
I'm listening. Please, go ahead.
That is unbelievable. That he stood perfectly in the way of that door. Let's just go out the other side. It makes me sad. Makes me very sad sometimes. Okay, the other thing that I want to check I didn't do the reset AI thing yet. I was going to do it after last episode, but I forgot. Okay, I will try to remember to do that again. The Progress of Truth. Compiled by the Dissident Priests. Excerpt concerning the points of temple doctrine challenged by the Dissident Priests. One, the divinity of the tribunal. Temple doctrine claims their apotheosis was miraculously achieved through questing, virtue, knowledge, testing, and battling with evil. Temple doctrine claims the divine powers and immortality are ultimately conferred as a communal judgment by the Dunmer ancestors, including, among others, the good Daedra, the prophet Veloth, and Saint Nerevar. Dissident priests ask whether Dagoth-Ur's powers and the tribunal powers might ultimately derive from the same source, Red Mountain. Sources in the Apocrypha suggest that the tribunal relied on profanely enchanted tools to achieve godhood, and that where these unholy devices were the ones originally created by the ungodly Dwemer sorcerer Kagranak to create the false construct Numidium. 2. The purity of the tribunal. The dissident priests say that the temple has always maintained a public face, represented by the hieroglypher, the priestly writings, and a hidden face, represented by the apocrypha, the hidden writings. The public account portrays the actions of the tribunal in a heroic light, while the hidden writings reveal secrets, untruths, inconsistencies, conflicting accounts, and varying interpretations which hint at darker and less heroic motives and actions of the tribunes. In particular, conflicting accounts of the battle at Red Mountain raise questions about the tribunal's conduct, and about their source of their subsequent apotheosis. Also, there is good evidence that the tribunal have been concealing the true nature of the threat posed by Dagoth-Ur at Red Mountain, misleading the people about the tribunal's ability to protect Morrowind from Dagoth-Ur, and concealing a recent dramatic diminishing of the tribunal's magical powers. All of this so far is very true. Temple accounts of the Battle of Red Mountain. Ashlander tradition does not place the tribunal at Red Mountain, and holds that the Dwemer destroyed themselves, rather than that Nerevar destroyed. Ashlander tradition further holds that Nerevar left Dagoth-Ur guarding the profane secrets of Red Mountain, while Nerevar went to confer with the Grand Council, i.e. the Tribunal. That Nerevar died at the conference, not of his wounds according to the Ashlanders, but from treachery, and that subsequently the Tribunal confronted a defiant Dagoth-Ur within Red Mountain that drove Dagoth-Ur beneath Red Mountain when he would not yield to their will. 4. Veneration of the Daedra, Saints and Ancestors. While challenging the divinity of the Tribunal, the dissidents do not challenge the sainthood or heroism of the Tribunal. In fact, the dissident priests advocate restoring many of the elements of fundamentalist ancestor worship as practiced by the Ashlanders and by Saint Veloth. Exactly how this would work is debated inconclusively within the dissident priests. 5. Denial of the prophecies of the incarnate and persecutions of the Nerevarines. Though no consensus exists among the dissidents about whether the Nerevarine prophecies are genuine, all agree that the persecution of the Nerevarines is unjust and politically motivated. The dissident priests do not reject mysticism, revelation, or prophecy as part of the religious experience. The dissidents have not resolved the issue of true or false insights. They have studied the mysticism of the Ashlanders' ancestor cults, in particular the rites of the Ashlander seers and wise women, and the prophecies of the incarnate. Many among the dissident priests have come to believe that the Nerevarine prophecies are genuine, and have made a systematic study of prophecies recorded in temple archives. Authority of the Archcanon and the Ordinators. The dissident priests reject the authority of the Archcanon and the Ordinators. The temple hierarchy has been corrupted by self-interest and politics, and no longer acts in the best interests of the temple or its worshippers. The dissident priests believe the archcanon and ordinators speak for themselves, not for the tribunal. The Inquisition and the use of terror and torture by the ordinators. Within the temple hierarchy, it is an open secret that the ordinators rely on abduction, terror, torture, and secret imprisonment to discourage heresy and dissent. The dissident priests feel the ordinators are either out of control or tools used to maintain a corrupt priesthood in power. Number 8. Fundamentals of Temple Doctrine. Charity for the poor, education for the ignorant, protection for the weak. Though the dissident priests acknowledge that most rank-and-file priests honored the best traditions of the temple, they believe that many priests in higher ranks are interested more in love of authority and luxury than in the welfare of the poor, weak, and ignorant. Sounds about right. Okay, that was 10 pages, wowee. And it was chock full of information as well, which is really, really cool. So the dissident priests... They kind of side with the Ashlander accounts of things. A lot more than the official temple accounts. It also alluded to the existence of the Apocrypha, or hidden texts, about the kind of actions of the tribunes. And we'll definitely get to having a good look at those in a later episode. But for now, we're going to head back and have a chat to Caius Cosades.
We make a special trip just for you. Same low price.
I am going to keep the editing on this one to a relatively low amount, and I think it'll probably be that way for the future. Just to kind of clue you guys in. It does take quite a lot of work to add on the intros and the outros and stuff.
I'd be happy to talk.
I think we'll keep the
My
outros, but we might just drop off the intros and just see how that goes for the time being. Okay, I have your report, and I'll make copies of your notes from Julia and the progress of truth. Give me time to read and digest all of this. In the meantime, I'm promoting you to journeyman. You're doing good work. And here are 200 drakes. Go out and treat yourself to a new pair of shoes. We're not replacing our tempe boots, but that's cool. And go do some jobs for the guilds or other freelance works, just to keep your cover story current, or get some training. Then when you're fit and rested, come back, and I'll have new orders for you. Excellent. I'm not ready for you yet. I told you, get out and brush your skills, or do some freelance work to support your cover story, or go shopping, or do some sightseeing. Just leave me alone and let me think. Okay, so we will return to Caius at some point. And I haven't really thought about what else I want to do. So I think what we'll do is we'll call it a little bit early today. It's been chock full of lore and also uncovering information about Morrowind and Vvardenfell. So it's been great. It's been great fun so far. We learned a lot about the distant priests, about the 6th house. There's a few question marks about the 6th house and what they're up to, and we'll kind of uncover that more in future episodes. But for now, I want to say thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you joining me on these videos, and I will see you next week for episode number 9. It'll be next week. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Have a good week.